I usually teach about our history, but we are currently living our history, so I'm going to have to keep you informed on that as well. Because of Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico, prices on goods are about to skyrocket. This is what you should know. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, the tariffs imposed by Trump could raise consumer prices on everyday resale purchases such as food and beverage items and general merchandise, covering about a quarter of the total consumption of the United States. The price hikes are expected to impact outside of the grocery store as well. According to the Peterson Institute for International Economics, the tariffs could cost the average United States household $1,200 annually. Domestic producers that compete with the newly tariffed import will increase their prices in line with import price increases. The following common imports from Canada to U.S., according to the Bureau of Industry and Security of Trading Economics, could be affected by Trump's tariffs as well. On things like wood, charcoal, aluminum, iron and steel appliances, cereal, flour, starch, and milk products, rubbers, alcoholic beverages, carpets, and other textile flooring coverings, wool, animal hair, horsehair yarn, and fabric umbrellas, walking sticks, seated sticks, whips, cotton, cork products, and printed books. But you don't need those, right? Items the U.S. imports from Mexico, according to Trade Economics and the OEC. These are the items that could be affected by Trump's tariffs: cereal, paper products, processed fruits and nuts, tropical fruit, tomatoes, onions, lettuce, cabbage, pickled foods, fruit juices, fertilizers, dairy products, eggs and honey, cotton, beer, hard liquor, coffee, tea, spices, meat, fish, and seafood, sauces and seasonings, baked goods, avocados, and raw sugar. But you don't need those, right? According to the Canadian government, about 34% of all meat imported into the U.S. comes from their country. On the other hand, according to the USDA, Mexico is a major provider of fresh vegetables to the U.S., as 77% of our fresh produce comes from South America. Mexico and Canada rank within the top 4 providers of alcohol for Americans. But you don't need those, right? Mexico, in fact, is the largest importer of beer into the United States, as 18% of all beer drank in America comes from Mexico. Trump originally proposed a 10% tariff on Canadian oil, which equates to roughly 16-cent increase per gallon, according to Mike Scoresdale, who's head of U.S. economics at Trust. These tariffs could eventually raise the price of almost everything because companies need fuel to transport their products across the country. Retaliatory actions by the 3 U.S. trade partners are also likely to stir up trouble for American companies. But I think these are intended consequences because Trump doesn't know what he's doing. This is what happens when white privilege runs amok and you put an idiot in the highest office in the land. Prices will also go up on cars. You might see prices go up not just for new cars, but for used ones too, as any additional scarcity in the market often drives more would-be new shoppers to consider used cars. Cars.com says cars that depend heavily on imported parts or are fully imported from the affected countries will likely see prices hike immediately. But you don't need those, right? These are dangerous times for Black people. Whenever someone talks about everyday Americans, they're not talking about Black people. So if something is going to be affecting everyday Americans, you best believe it's going to affect the Black community even worse. These tariffs are going to make it that much harder for our people to survive, for our people to eat. We have to come together and decide that we're not going to let that happen. We're going to come together and ensure that everyone has access to enough food to survive. That means food banks. That means food drives. That means thinking about someone other than yourself. And if you have food that you can make available to others, then you need to do so. We have a bunch of idiots running this country right now, and it will affect us in a major way. You cannot sit this one out. You cannot pretend like it's happening to them and not to all of us. We will always have to pay for their mistakes until we step up and decide that we are going to be in control of our destiny. And the only way we'll do that is if we build institutions to protect us from idiots like Trump. This message was brought to you by the Black Revolutionary Collective, building economic and political power for all Black people everywhere. I love you, Black man. I love you, Black woman. Knowledge is power. Power to the people.